Villainous teams. They have been a staple of the Pokemon franchise since its inception with Pokemon Red and Pokemon Blue. The quality of these teams varies, anywhere from really good with a great narrative and some good aura, and others not so good, not so well written. However, they have been consistently in these games as often as Pikachu or the Pokemon League has been. I'm Flyboy, and I want to find out which villainous team in the Pokemon video game franchise is the best. I'm going to take a deep dive into every single one of these villainous teams in every single one of the Pokemon games to find out. But before we get to that, I think it's a good idea to understand what exactly a villainous team is in the Pokemon games. Essentially, these villainous teams are usually organized crime groups that are seeking different goals. These goals could vary from just attaining wealth and profit to recreating the universe in their own image. So there's a lot of different types of teams in this franchise. Each of these teams serve as the main antagonist of the storylines of their respective Pokemon games, with varying levels of prominence within the worlds themselves. Each episode of this series will serve as a deep dive and almost a kind of retrospective on each of the villainous teams you find in Pokemon. After which I will review and judge each of these villainous teams on 4 different metrics. First is the motive. How compelling is the motive of these villainous teams? Why do they carry out the actions that they carry out? Does the crime they commit line up with the motive that they have? Obviously, if a team has loftier goals, I'm going to expect them to present higher stakes and commit higher levels of crime, you could say. But that is the first metric, motive. And all these metrics will be rated on a scale from bad, mid, great, and excellent. As the name of these types of teams suggest, villainous teams, I expect these teams to be villainous. So the next metric I'm going to judge them on is villainy. How evil are these guys? Are these guys actually evil, as their name is supposed to represent? Or are they just sort of misguided and they don't really know what they're doing, man? So essentially, are they willfully being evil to reach their goals? Or are they just like misguided losers who don't know what they're doing? And, you know, would we be able to point at them and go, it's the socioeconomic factors, man? Or are we going to look at them and go, yeah, these guys are just straight up evil? So that's the difference between a good team, which is villainous, actually evil, willfully evil, versus just a misguided group of hooligans. The next one's plot. How well does this evil team fit into the plot of their respective games? Are they sort of a nuisance, or are they, you know, well spaced throughout the game? Do they provide a cool narrative, a narrative that makes you think? Do they provide, maybe some provide a moral question, a moral dilemma that you might actually have to think about? So plot just encapsulates the pacing of it all, how involved they are in the story, and how good the story is. And finally is the X factor. The metric I'm going to be rating them on is aura. Like I said, this is the X factor. This is what will sway me. This could sway me from liking a team or absolutely hating one. So the X factor is really just going to be my personal opinion on the matter. It's my show. It's going to be my opinion. Okay. I'm trying to be objective, but really I don't care. The aura is going to involve their fashion, their presentation. You know, how cool are they? Like, are they swagged out, or are they lame? Are they lame as hell? So that's going to be one of the deciding factors on how high I rank these teams. Now, I just said I'm going to be ranking these teams, and that's correct. I'm going to be putting a tier list together as we go through each of these Pokemon games and their villains, and we're going to truly see which one's the best, and we'll see which one's the worst, and every single one in between. So be excited for that. We have a tier list coming for you guys. So now, without further ado, let's introduce the Pokemon team that really doesn't need an introduction. Team Rocket. Team Rocket is the first villainous team in the Pokemon franchise. They were in the first games of the Pokemon franchise, and so they're kind of the OG. They're the first, and they've been the blueprint for the rest of the villainous teams that we'll see throughout this series. Team Rocket serves as the main antagonist and crime group of Pokemon Red and Blue in their Generation 3 remakes, Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green, I'm going to be using gameplay and dialogue from Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green. It came out like almost 10 years after the first ones. I just see it as more of a complete product and what really represents Team Rocket. Like I said earlier, they were the first team made by Game Freak, and so they sort of laid the foundation and started the trend of each of the Pokemon games having a villainous group. So, who is Team Rocket? Well, Team Rocket is a mafia group who seek to attain wealth and dominance and influence in the Kanto region and later over more regions by exploiting Pokemon. Their methods range from strip mining mountains to petty theft to taking over corporations. So their methods, really nothing's off the table. The leader of Team Rocket is Giovanni, and he outwardly to the Kanto community is an upstanding man. I mean, he's a gym leader. Come on. He's a great man. He's a good businessman. However, he is also the crime syndicate leader of Team Rocket. So, you know, there's that to him. There's layers to this. You can really see there's a lot of like Italian mafia influence in Team Rocket as you play the game. And so if you really want to know who they are down to like just the bare bones, think of like The Godfather. They're like an Italian mafia group in the early 20th century. Now that we have a basic understanding of who Team Rocket is, it's time to go over the plot summary of Team Rocket in Fire Red and Leaf Green. Yes, you're going to get one of those, but, you know, we got to know what we're talking about. I want to lay the foundation so we can truly judge if Team Rocket is the best Pokemon team in the franchise. Your first run-in with Team Rocket in Kanto begins in Mount Moon. You just defeated the first gym leader, Brock. You're about to go face Misty in Cerulean City. However, there's Mount Moon right in between them. Once you get into the basement level of Mount Moon, you start to run into Team Rocket grunts. And there's only one that's not an optional fight. However, when you do fight each one of them, you uncover more about what Team Rocket is about. The one grunt you do have to face is right before you pick up the Helix or Dome fossil in Mount Moon. All he tells you is that he wants that same fossil. That Team Rocket is searching for these fossils, and it's going to be a way for them to make money. So we find out later, presumably to sell the fossil or the Pokemon that come from the fossils. However, we don't know that yet. In fact, it doesn't even seem like much of a crime because you end up taking that fossil anyways. So is it really theft or are you a criminal? You know what I mean? So either you have to be a criminal or Team Rocket's just kind of a group of delinquents, maybe some low-level crime stuff. That isn't really a big threat. There is one interesting thing, though, from this Rocket Grunt's dialogue, is that he does say he's going to blacklist you. So that insinuates that there's higher organizational things going on with this team. Regardless, things become a lot more clear as you fight the other three optional members of Team Rocket in Mount Moon. One of the Rocket Grunts is conspicuously placed next to a thief TM and says this is some kind of big job by Team Rocket. So we see from this guy that they're thieves, allegedly, but this is a big job, which means it's not just that one fossil they were looking for. This is probably more of like a strip mining thing. They're like emptying out Mount Moon of all of its resources, but that's just a guess. However, if you had any question whether these guys were criminal in their nature, the other one just says, yeah, we're Pokemon gangsters. So the ambiguity is gone. You know these guys are criminals. These guys are gangsters. It's organized crime. They're a mafia. So if you fight all four of the grunts, by the time you get out of Mount Moon, you know these guys are just scum. After you've traversed through Mount Moon, you finally find yourself in Cerulean City, and in one of the buildings you can see there's a police officer standing out in front, and he's like, Team Rocket did this crime. They robbed this house. So, okay. Now they're not just strip mining out mines. Team Rocket is committing petty theft like stealing and breaking and entering. To make things more interesting and more villainous, when you go north and after you face your rival, you come upon this bridge. It's called Nugget Bridge. And basically, it's a gauntlet of 5 trainers. You fight each one of them until you get to the end, and you're rewarded with a nugget. Nuggets are pretty expensive. You're just given $5,000, essentially, for defeating these 5 trainers. But then things become... Like who's giving away a nugget? For real? For beating 5 trainers? Are we serious? I know it's Pokemon, but come on. Then things become a little bit more clear. when the guy who gave you the nugget is like, oh yeah, do you want to join Team Rocket? Okay. You insist no, but he begs you. He says, no, please join Team Rocket, and you have to end up fighting him and defeating him. So Nugget Bridge makes it look so bad for Team Rocket because it's essentially like a way for them to recruit child trainers into their ranks. They're willing to give you $5,000 if you beat all the other trainers because they know you're good. They know you're a talented trainer, and they know that little bit of money they give you up front could sway you to join Team Rocket, regardless of what you've heard about them from everyone else in the region. Ironically enough, they were like this close to averting all disaster for Team Rocket if they just were able to recruit Red at the beginning of the game. You later find out that the grunt in Cerulean City who robbed the house was stealing a dig TM, which we can only assume would be used to help mining for fossils or building their base underground in Celadon City. The next time you encounter Team Rocket is in Celadon City. When you enter the city, there's a Team Rocket grunt right at the entrance. So first off, there's something fishy going on. You find out in a house on the south end of town that they are selling, Team Rocket selling Pokemon at the game corner as prizes, and that's how they're getting a lot of their money. So some pretty evil stuff going on. They're trafficking Pokemon and selling them, and you, the trainer, could literally buy in to their endeavors. If you wanted like a Porygon, let's say, you could buy it from Team Rocket in this case. And how many people didn't know that? How many people just skipped the dialogue entirely? So that's pretty cool learning about that. And so you find out that there is a secret base underneath the game corner, and the Team Rocket grunts are kind of stupid. They just kind of let you in on accident. But, you know, the plot has to continue some way, right? You go through the base. It can be a little tedious, although I didn't really mind it, honestly. It was pretty fine. And you finally see the leader of Team Rocket for the first time, and it's Giovanni. Now, the battle itself is pretty underwhelming. Giovanni's not too much of a threat, and you'll find that throughout the rest of the game. He's not really a threat. His team is just not really good at all. It has some cool Pokemon, but it's not really a good team. But Giovanni, his presence, his presentation, it's cool nonetheless. You know, you just got that mafia look. It's really cool. After the battle, you get your Sylph Scope, and this is what's necessary to go through Pokemon Tower in Lavender Town. If you don't, there'll be all these ghosts, and most importantly, there'll be a ghost at the end of the dungeon, which you can't pass if you don't have the Sylph Scope. So that's kind of like the event flag, I guess, that unlocks when you beat Giovanni. Now, next up is Lavender Town, and this is very interesting because this is what elevates Team Rocket to just scum, you know? They're criminals, they're evil, I mean, they're trafficking Pokemon, but this is what elevates them to the next level of just pure evil, okay? Is the Pokemon Tower and what they do there. So, one of the first people you talk to in Lavender Town, he mentions that there's ghosts in the tower, and that these ghosts could be the spirits of the Pokemon Team Rocket has killed. Yeah, he says Team Rocket has killed Pokemon, just up front. I know this is like it's a kid's game, and this is why that's a whole other tangent with Scarlet and Violet and it being a kid's game, but this is a kid's game, but it's pretty upfront that Team Rocket kills Pokemon. It doesn't just sell them, Team Rocket kills Pokemon. Furthermore, which outright confirms that Team Rocket kills Pokemon, is the ghost that's blocking your entrance into the top of the tower, the one I talked about earlier that you needed the Sylph Scope to see. Once you use the Sylph Scope on it, it is Marowak, and a girl in the town tells you that Team Rocket killed that Marowak. So now we can see that these ghosts that trainer talked about, or that boy talked about in town, could literally be all just Pokemon who were killed by Team Rocket. Once you get to the top of the tower, you free a man named Mr. Fuji, who Team Rocket was holding captive because he was protesting Team Rocket. So from Lavender Town, we find out that Team Rocket doesn't just poach Pokemon, doesn't just kill Pokemon, but now they also just hold people hostage. So this extends beyond violence towards Pokemon. They are now violent towards humans as well. Now, here comes the climax of the Team Rocket story in Kanto. It is their takeover of Silph Co. in Saffron City. Once you enter Saffron City,
you find the whole town taken over by Team Rocket grunts. You find them blocking off buildings, standing in front of houses, and some of them are even violent towards you. Like, I think one said, if you keep looking at me like this, I'm going to punch you, or something like that. So Team Rocket literally takes over the whole town, and this adds a lot to the power of Team Rocket. You need to present them as a powerful group, and they were able to overrun the largest city in Kanto. The entire town, like straight up the entire town was taken over. Once you enter the building of Silphco itself, the biggest corporation in Kanto, you find that Team Rocket has taken over the whole building and really taken over the corporation entirely, or is at least holding it hostage. You find that Team Rocket's plan here is to attain the Master Ball from Silphco, which will aid them in, of course, as we know what the Master Ball does, capturing all the Pokemon that Team Rocket could need to make a profit. Throughout the building, you find that a lot of scientists have defected to Team Rocket. One outright saying he works for both Team Rocket and Silphco. He just holds his loyalty to Team Rocket higher. It's a higher priority for him. Once you get through the whole Silphco building, once you get to the top, you finally face Giovanni for the last time. After you defeat another one of Giovanni's underwhelming teams, he says he will return again. And so this is sort of the end of Team Rocket. They clear out the building and you think it's over. You really don't see Team Rocket again for a lot of the story. I mean, at this rate, you can finish up the next 2 or 3 gym badges that you haven't completed yet, whether it's Koga, Sabrina, and Blaine, or just Sabrina and Blaine, and you don't run into Team Rocket again until the last gym. The last gym that, if you remember in the beginning of the game, wasn't available to you because the gym leader was gone. The old man standing in front of the gym seems quite elated that the gym leader's back. So, who is this mystery gym leader that's been missing all game? Well, in one of the only plot twists in Pokemon, at least the greatest one, I really can't think of another one off the top of my head. Giovanni is the gym leader of the Viridian City Gym. This Mafia boss you just thwarted 3 gym badges ago, the one that's been a pain in your butt for the entire game up to this point, is now a gym leader. A gym leader that's on the same level or even higher than all the other ones. And these are the ones that you've been looking up to. You're a trainer. You want their gym badges. You want their validation. You want to be better than them. And a Mafia boss is one of them? What's going on, you know? So, very interesting, very intriguing that they did this. And it's a pretty cool plot twist, if you ask me. Especially for a Pokemon game. Once you defeat a third underwhelming Giovanni team, he finally calls it quits. He says he's done. Team Rocket's done for good. Before the battle, he said this is where he was going to hide out and rebuild Team Rocket to its former glory. But now he calls it quits. And it seems like a pretty satisfying ending. I mean, you've fought him 3 times. And I know you're a 10-year-old, but it's not like Giovanni treats you like you're not a 10-year-old. He outright says you're a child multiple times throughout the games. And the fact that you defeated him surprises him. This is probably what has him quit altogether. I mean, would you? You're a Mafia boss, this 10-year-old with his level 50 fire-breathing dragon keeps beating you. I get it. I totally get it. This takes a little bit of the villainy out because Giovanni sort of sees the fault, the error in his ways. But, you know, at least it's at the end of the game. At least he's not trying to make a redemption or anything like that. He just F's off. He leaves. So that's it for the main story. If you're playing Red and Blue, that's the end of it. That's the last you'll hear of Team Rocket. They're no more. You won't see him ever again. However, in Fire Red and Leaf Green, there is some extra content, and it's called the Sevi Islands. It's just these islands you can sail to, and there's extra story content in them. Basically, the extra story that you get with the Sevi Islands is that there's a remnant of Team Rocket left on these islands, still fighting as if Team Rocket wasn't disbanded. It's like that meme with the Japanese soldier who kept fighting 20 years after the war. That's basically what's going on here. So on Mount Ember, you find these 2 rocket grunts, obviously up to no good. When are they ever up to good? And we find out that they're probably hunting for the ruby, which you find inside of Mount Ember. You then run into them again in Icefall Cave, and you fight alongside Lorelei, one of the Elite Four members, to fight them. This kind of adds an extra layer of intrigue to Team Rocket's relationship with the Pokemon League, because Giovanni was the 8th gym leader. He was obviously close with the Pokemon League, However, Lorelei is directly confronting and fighting Team Rocket. So it adds a little bit of ambiguity. Is the Elite Four even aware Giovanni was the Mafia boss or not? And so that's what we see. And so I think that's a good addition to the game. After some more shenanigans, side story stuff, you finally get to their warehouse on 5 Island, and this is sort of where they're stationed. And you actually run into some female Rocket grunts. So Team Rocket in this game were only male up to this point, and so you find out that Giovanni was hiding all the shotties on 5 Island. So you finally get to see a couple of them, and that's pretty nice sprites. Like, I'm not going to complain. The grunts don't believe you when you tell them that Team Rocket's gone. Some of them are even like, there's no way. The only truth in this world is Team Rocket. They didn't really say that, but they're like, there is no question in their mind that Team Rocket's still around. And I really like what Kanto did with its dialogue throughout this game. You've seen these grunts. They are loyal to a T. They never question Giovanni. They keep moving forward. And I really like that because it adds to Giovanni's character. That he is so powerful, so charismatic, that you have these whole groups of people, all these different grunts, who are 100% loyal to him, and I think that's great. Anyways, for the finale, you face 2 Team Rocket admins, the first ones in the entire series, really, I guess chronologically, and some assume that it's Archer and Ariana who you're fighting, who we'll talk about in the next episode. Not good, but we'll talk about them in the next episode, but there's no really way of confirming that. But you do know they're at least involved with Team Rocket in the next one, because after you defeat the male admin, if you look on the computer, it's talking about using magnetic waves to evolve Pokemon, which is actually a huge plot point of Team Rocket in the Johto games. And so after their defeat, the warehouse is shut down. Team Rocket is ousted for good. They are no more in the Kanto games. And so that's it. That's the whole story of Team Rocket, or at least your interactions with them in the Fire Red and Leaf Green games. Now that I've gone over that plot summary, I think it's time for us to review Team Rocket and Kanto. How good are they as a villainous team in the Pokemon series? If you remember, I said I was going to judge these teams on 4 metrics, so without further ado, let's get started with the motive. Ultimately, money is what motivates Team Rocket. Nothing else. No universe-altering, world-destroying, dominating, just none of that BS, just money. And some people call it boring. They say it's trite, that you see this all the time. It's kind of lame. Real people do this. Yeah, that's kind of the point. That's what makes it so compelling. Team Rocket's doing something that you can actually observe people do in real life. I mean, think about the villains in real life. People do a lot more heinous stuff than Team Rocket does in these games for a lot less money than what Team Rocket's doing it for. As carnal creatures, as human beings, money is like the main motivator for everything we do in our lives. Even Jesus Christ, God himself, recognized how powerful and how motivating money is a force in human life. Jesus Christ in Matthew chapter 6 says that no man can serve 2 masters, for he will love one and hate the other. And so he said that you cannot serve money and Jesus Christ. You must serve one. And so if Jesus Christ is being all good, is righteousness, money, of course, is at odds with that. Team Rocket being motivated by money makes them an evil team. Money is the motivation for most evil in our world, and why wouldn't it be the same for the Pokemon world? I don't think you need some sort of grand master plan to be a compelling villain. I really don't think that's necessary. In fact, I think that hurts it a lot of the time. It comes off as unrealistic and sort of like an anime trope rather than like a real villain. And so the only knock I could really think of against Team Rocket is it is kind of shallow from a storytelling perspective. Like, there's not a lot of backstory you get about Team Rocket, their foundation, why Giovanni thinks the way he does. I mean, you get a little bit with him saying he's been a gym leader, but you don't really get a lot of why, what drives him. And I know money is enough. You know, some people just really have that drive to get rich, but it doesn't really go into detail with that. But I don't really count that as a huge knock. I mean, it works. Giovanni works as a villain. His motivations are clear, and it just works well without it. So I'm not really taking a lot off for that. So overall, Team Rocket's motive works, okay? It's simple, It's compelling. You get it. You understand why they do what they do. They want money, and they will do anything to get it. And so for that, I'm going to give them an excellent rating. I think this is an excellent motive. It's really hard to beat. And so that's Team Rocket's motive score. Next, let's talk about their villainy. What's great about Team Rocket and Kanto isn't just their compelling motive, but how villainous they really are. From the top to the bottom of this organization, the whole team is just a bunch of scumbags. These guys are straight up evil, and they don't care about hiding it. They are seen robbing graves, killing Pokemon, holding people hostage, selling Pokemon, trafficking them. They will do anything, and they do not have any regard for the wellness of Pokemon, the wellness of people, as long as they get their bag. Some even are just belligerently violent. I mean, one says, remember that he would punch you because you looked at him wrong or whatever, something like that. They are dead set accomplishing their goals, and they have disregarded morality to do so. In fact, one of them even tells you that you will never understand their aims because you have morals. That's how low they've stooped. Overall, Team Rocket does it the best. They are evil, they do evil things for the sake of profit, and that's it. There are really no redeeming qualities for this team. I mean, Giovanni might have turned a new leaf at the end, still ambiguous if he did, but he turned a new leaf, that's about it. Besides that, they are the biggest scumbags of the series. They are cut and dry evil, they do it the best. And for that, I'm going to give Team Rocket an excellent score for their villainy. Now let's get on to their plot score. How well do they fit into the narrative of Kanto? Well, Team Rocket is fairly well spread out throughout the games of Fire Red and Leaf Green. You find them here and there between gyms, and they aren't too in your face, but they're there throughout the game. The only problem is they do fall off the face of the earth around the 5th gym badge when you complete the Silphco side quest or whatever you want to call it. However, I think that adds more to Team Rocket because it makes the twist at the end where you finally see Giovanni again as a gym leader. It really makes that twist work. Team Rocket really feels like they're gone after Silphco, but they're still there. And that's what I love about it. Team Rocket is just sort of like this cockroach. It never dies. The narrative works. It's just a basic mafia team that you have to take down, but it gets really good once you get to the Viridian City Gym and find out Giovanni is a gym leader. There isn't any dialogue that explicitly tells you how or why he became a gym leader or why he became a mafia boss, just that he is one and has been for a long time. This evil mob boss you just took down in Saffron City is standing in front of you as a gym leader, the person in between you and the Elite Four. And it calls into question, what kind of people are the Elite Four? Are the Elite Four ignorant fools who let a mafia boss into their ranks? Or are they complicit in his actions? At least we know Lorelei isn't, but even then, is that performative? This idea of political intrigue in the Pokemon series isn't really ever touched again, but it's so interesting here, and the level of ambiguity just adds to it. It calls into question the character of both Giovanni and his intentions and the Elite Four. The only other time Game Freak ever really tries this again, this sort of villainous intrigue into the Pokemon League, is with Malva and Pokemon X and Y, and that really isn't done well at all. So while the pacing could be a little bit better, especially between Silphco and the Viridian City Gym, although I have my reservations, I think that was okay for what they were trying to do with the plot twist. Team Rocket fits into the narrative really well, and they introduce one of my favorite parts about these old Pokemon games. They add a level of mystery to the games. The ambiguity with Giovanni, who he really is, why is he a gym leader, that adds to this mystery, that there's more than meets the eye with these games. And that's what I love about these old Pokemon games, and Giovanni helps add to that. So overall, I give Team Rocket a great score for their plot. I think, like I said, there were some downsides with the pacing and the Elite Four. They don't really go into too much detail with that. But overall, the ambiguity of it all and how well spaced they are throughout the first 2/3 of the game is just great. So we're going to leave it at that. A great score for Team Rocket's plot. And finally, the X Factor. Next is the aura of Team Rocket. And first off, I know this isn't in Fire Red or Leaf Green, but I want you to look at this grunt design from Red and Blue, the original grunt design. He's got a freaking whip, dude. This is aura. This is cool. This is threatening. This is like sinister. we like to see it. So first off, they get a lot of points for that. Second, I really think Team Rocket's uniforms are classic. They are awesome. The black outfit with the giant red R on the chest. I read somewhere that it's supposed to be reminiscent of like biker gangs in Japan. And I think that fits the setting of Kanto really well as well, because you have bikers throughout the entire game. Like there are routes like the cycling road where you just run into biker after biker, and sort of the routes around Fuchsia. And I mean, in the post-game content in Fire Red Leaf Green, there is a biker gang that takes over a whole island. So biker culture is like embedded into Kanto. And I think it's really cool that Team Rocket's uniform is, you know, part of that. And, you know, we could get into how the grunts themselves are kind of stupid. They like always fall in a way that helps you, the player. I think that's more of it being a plot device, you know, the grunts acting as plot devices. But what I love about them is that they are loyal. They are loyal soldiers for Giovanni, and that's really cool. That adds some aura. I love that. It shows Giovanni's really that guy. And finally, you knew I was going to talk about it, Giovanni. I think Giovanni might be the best villain in the Pokemon series. He is just a classic. And I don't really have a lot of nostalgia for Kanto. You know, I played Leaf Green once as a kid. I really played Emerald a lot more in the Gen 4 games, the Johto remakes. But, wow. Giovanni, he's got the clean-cut suit, tailored suit. He's got the nice hair. You know, he is an Italian mob boss, and he's just got that sinister aura about him. His team sucks, but he still feels threatening. So, Giovanni alone carries so hard. And add the mysterious nature of him being part of the Pokemon League on top of that, and it's just, he's dripping with aura. It is insane. So if you couldn't tell from the utter glaze fest that this has been for Team Rocket's aura, I'm going to give them an excellent score for the aura. This is the X factor. They really pull it off well. They've got the fashion down. They've got the presentation down. They do really good in this regard. Now, with all of this said, I will place Team Rocket, the first ever villainous team we are placing on our tier list, at an A rank. This is an impressive showing for Team Rocket. I mean, they are Game Freak's first attempt, first stab at making a villainous team, and they pull it off really well. They stuck to the basics, they kept them evil, they kept them villainous, and it worked out well. Team Rocket is a very compelling team. Their motivations make sense. You understand why they do what they do, and it's all for the pursuit of profit. You know, they're evil guys. They aren't just misunderstood delinquents. They are evil, and they know it. And they're loyal to Giovanni, who is the root of all of that. And, you know, they're pretty well interwoven into the narrative of Kanto. You know, they're spread fairly good throughout the main story. And they fit into the region itself. You know, sort of being a biker gang-inspired group in a region full of biker gangs. And I really want to stress how, like, interlaced they are into the Kanto region. You really feel their presence everywhere. It feels like they are around every corner when you're playing this game, and that works out well for them. And for that reason, I'm putting them up very high on the tier list. The Blueprint, the villainous team that started it all, set a very high bar, a bar I don't think won't be topped for a very long time. Anyways, that will do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure if you haven't yet, you hit that like button down below, and you subscribe to stay up to date on my videos. The next episode I'll be doing will be about Team Rocket's venture into Johto, but make sure to hit that comment button like I said. Tell me what you think, and share it with all your friends. Share it with all the Pokemon fans you know. Share it to your friends who you know listen to longer videos that you just put on the background. Send it to everyone you know. All this is free, and it helps out a ton. That's going to do it for me. My name is Flyboy. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace.